Hello, my name is Casty Bailey. For my book talk slash author study, I chose Dr. Seuss. I chose Dr. Seuss because he's just iconic and he is my favorite author to go over with my student. And during Read Across America, I get so excited to share his books because I remember the impact they made on me when I was younger, and I just love to share them with my students. His formal name was Theodore Seuss Geisel. Everybody just called him Ted. He published over 44 children's books before he died in 1991. He was born in 1904, but most of his stories came from him doodling. He ended up just would doodle on a sheet of paper, and he would get his story ideas from there. Many of you know his major works, Green Eggs and Ham, The Cat in the Hat, Dr. Seuss's ABCs, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, and Oh, the Places You'll Go. These were not, obviously it's not all of his works because he has over 44 books published, but these are some of his most famous and most iconic books that have been listed that he created. Dr. Seuss actually had a bunch of awards. He was awarded with the Caldecott Medal in 1948, 1950, and 1951. He had the Children's Literature Legacy Award in 1980. He won the Primetime Creative Arts Emmy Award for Outstanding Authors in 1982. He also won the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Children's Special in 1978. He won the Pulitzer Prize Special Citations and Awards in 1984, and in 1982, he also won the Regina Award. So he's well known, and he was rewarded for many, many of the books that he created.
Ted Geisel was an American original. He entertained generations of children and adults. We're not going to see the likes of him again.
Theodore Seuss Geisel adopted the name Dr. Seuss during his senior year at Dartmouth, where he served as editor of the school's humor magazine.
One spring evening, he and some friends were caught drinking gin in his room by the dean, who then removed Geisel from his editorship and said he could no longer contribute cartoons. So, of course, Ted Geisel continued to contribute, but using different names. And one of those names was Seuss.
Ted married Helen Palmer in 1927, and the couple moved to New York City.
Before Seuss was a famous children's writer, he was a famous ad man. He did advertising for many companies, and in fact, that's the way he made his money for the first 20 years of his children's book career.
Geisel's first book, And to Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street, was rejected by every publisher he showed it to. He was about to throw the book away when he ran into a friend on the street.
His friend said, "Oh, well, I'm with Vanguard Press. Show it to me." And the rest is history.
Geisel put children's book writing on hold in 1940 to draw political cartoons.
He attacked racism, he attacked anti-Semitism, he attacked fascism, and the isolationists who said this war wasn't our problem, we need not get involved.
At 38 years old, Geisel was too old for the draft, but he was committed to helping the war effort. On January 7, 1943, Dr. Seuss became Captain Theodore Geisel of the United States Army.
He became part of the Information and Education Division and took charge of the animation unit.
In 1957, Geisel was challenged to create a new reading primer that children would enjoy more than watching television. Geisel would have to contain the book to 225 words.
So Ted took this list of words, all unrelated words, and he ran his eye down just looking for something that rhymed, and there was cat, there was hat, boing.
The success of The Cat in the Hat launched the beginner book series for Random House. Geisel served as president of the new division and edited Are You My Mother and the Berenstain Bears as part of the series. Seuss's own contributions to the series are his most popular, including Green Eggs and Ham and One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish.
I think what makes a book a classic is pure excellence, and his books certainly fall into that category. But I also think it's because people want to revisit them again and again.
While his work was booming, His wife Helen had been struggling with health problems for years, but by 1967 there were other strains on the relationship.
Ted Geisel fell in love with Audrey Diamond, and they had an affair. And Helen found out. And in the wake of that knowledge, and also because she felt like she was no longer the woman she was before those illnesses, she killed herself. And Audrey, later that year, divorced her husband, and the next year married Ted Geisel.
In 1984, Geisel was awarded a Pulitzer Prize for his special contribution to children's literature.
I got this wonderful note from him saying, "See, I'm not just a kids writer, I'm a people writer."
Theodore Seuss Geisel died on September 24, 1991. His books have been translated into 20 languages and inspired feature films and a Broadway musical.
Theodore Seuss Geisel had a voice unlike any other, and that voice of Ted's echoes in the head not only of every child who has those books read to her or him, but to any adult who's had the thrill of reading them. And it was a thrill to have known him.
Many of his books were then transformed into movies or, like they said, Broadway shows. So I just find that fascinating. And also another fun fact about him that we can see from this video is that he actually created ads for political statements, and that was his way to help out during the war. But one of his unique contributions they covered in the video was that he was an ad artist basically for over 17 years. He was a successful admin before he even created children's books. And here's an example of one of his drawings. In 1928, he created his first ad for the Flit insecticide, and he contributed his work for 17 years with that company after that. Within his children's books, you can see many different styles, but the most common thing that you see in the writing style is his verse style writing. And this usually includes words consisting of 2 short syllables followed by 1 long syllable. Or they would have, he would use words consisting of 2 unstressed syllables followed by 1 stressed syllables. And usually these verses were combined into 4 lines. But as you can see in this example right here, I showed an example of how he used capitalization to emphasize words, and he kind of steered the reader to what he wants them to think and what the key points in that line or that verse was. So he did a really good job. He not only used capitalization, but in some of his books he used colored. He colored the words in specific parts so that readers were able to see that. Like I said before, I love Dr. Seuss. He is one of my favorites, and I cannot wait because I hold out all my Dr. Seuss books until Read Across America week, and it is one of my favorite weeks of the year. One thing that I would do with my students, they are in first grade, but I would have a whole week dedicated to Dr. Seuss, and we would have specific books that I would pick out. Not necessarily all of the top books, but some of them, most common ones, Green Eggs and Ham. I really like incorporating Oh, the Places You'll Go. But what I would do at the beginning of the week before we start that, I would do an author study, and we would do a flip book. We would get to know, we would learn facts about the artist and probably include some sort of creativity so the students can make him really feel like come to life. After we do that study, I would then incorporate the books, and then I would have a poster or anchor chart at the front of the room so we could discuss key details from the stories, the title of the stories, and, kind of the author's purpose so they understand and they can actually make connections and they can see and make those connections between, the author and the books that he wrote. And I really do believe that teachers need to emphasize studying authors, genres, and awards because, like I said before, they can make connections between their work and their life. And you can kind of see the patterns and kind of tell who, Theodore Seuss Geisel was. And you can see that throughout his books and how much of an impact he had on so many people, and not even just people back in his era, but people now, because he still does have a long-lasting impact. So that's it for my author study. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.